150 years young, a brand, IWC, a young man who took over the brand last year, and I'm with IWC CEO, Christoph Grainger-Herr. Good morning.
Morning, Alexander. How are you?
You're fine?
Very well. Despite being Thursday, very well. Thank you.
That's good. How's the feeling like? It's your first year as a CEO and you are jumping into the 150th anniversary of IWC Schaffhausen.
Yeah, it's a brilliant year. This is the big one. I remember it wasn't that long ago we celebrated 140 years back in 2008. And to be here today celebrating the big anniversary in this position, responsible for all aspects of IWC, it's an amazing feeling. I've really enjoyed this week.
Couldn't have been better. The gift they gave you for a start.
Absolutely. Very good gift. Thank you.
Christian, let's look back a little bit in the history of IWC. The brand really was, or still is, the brand that is most in the West. And the East, of all the watchmaking brands, kind of isolated in the Swiss speaking part of Switzerland, in the German speaking part of Switzerland. Is this particular role still there, that you're not in the cluster, the Jura, the Geneva part, and all the other parts? Is it still something special that you're a bit apart?
Absolutely. I think it's in our founding story and it's in our DNA. We were founded by an American who came from Boston over to Switzerland to combine that American system of watchmaking with Swiss craftsmanship. And he came to the east of Switzerland where there was a much more entrepreneurial climate. And I think the engineering approach that Jones had defined us and differentiated us against an artisan métier d'art approach. His approach was always one of combining craftsmanship and technology to get the best possible result. And that determined our DNA all the way to the present day. And I think the proximity of the southern German engineering companies in the automotive industry, you feel that in the way we work and we conceive our watches in Schaffhausen.
Yeah. So the spirit hasn't changed. It's still that what it was in the past.
Yes, it's playful engineers. It's people with crazy engineering ideas and a taste for adventure, and I think that's what we feel every day.
If the CEO looks back in the history of of the company he's in charge of, what would you consider being the most remarkable moment in the history of IWC Schaffhausen?
There's a couple of things I think that determined who we are today. There's the design legacy, which I think first and foremost comes from the Portuguese line in 1939, where we got the oversized case size from where the pocket watch movements were integrated, those very clean dials with a very clear layout. That is clearly in the history of the Portuguese. Then I think what determined our history was aviation watches more than anything else, from the Mark 11 special watch for pilots, 3711 double chronographs, all the way to the big pilot reintroduction in 2002. Well, by the way, I just read your original article in Watchtime magazine from 2002. Oh, very, very interesting to see that. Somebody sent me that.
Was it about the big pilot or the double chronograph?
Pilot launch in 2002. The original article.
Yeah, great.
And the other thing I see is material innovations in the 1980s and 70s. First ceramic watch, titanium watches, Porsche design back in those days, that determined that tool character of engineering that led to the Deep One and the GST and all the rest of it. And then finally, I think the creation of the perpetual calendar in 1985, a robust and simple to operate perpetual calendar movement that has been such an intrinsic part of IWC.
The perpetual calendar, simple as it can be and as good as it is, there's nothing you can do better than this.
Absolutely.
It's an easy saying.
Easy answer.
But you were also responsible a little bit for the big sizes that we today have on our wrists. I think this is also something in the legacy of IWC Schaffhausen. As you told, I remember when you introduced the Doppel chronograph in the time being, when the watch was in the shop windows, people were shocked. Said, "This isn't a watch I can buy. This is an exhibition piece, but not something you will buy anyway."
Yeah. I think that was the same question with the big pilot. Is this actually a wearable watch? It turns out it is. This is 46 millimeters. And this has become much more mainstream. It comes from that DNA of an instrument on the wrist. Today we have a more moderate range of different sizes across the collection, but that oversized look is very much part of what we do.
150 years do also challenge you, because you have to do something out of this legacy and perpetuate the whole thing and keep the thing running and make it let's say, make it even better if you can. So what are your plans for the next 150 years? Probably not you alone, but what would be your vision for the next 150 years for that brand?
I think first of all, we're now investing in our manufacturing capability. We're opening our new manufacturing center officially now in early spring. There we have 11,000 square meters, everything from case making to movement part making to movement assembly. It's on the one hand, it gives us the capacity and capability to build our in-house chronograph and automatic movements to even better quality standards in even better production setup. And this will allow us to introduce more value for money and engineering content into a broader range of the collection. And this is really one of the important focus points. We want to make sure across every price point we build the best possible product for our clients at every price point. And with a manufacturing center, we have the capacity to expand that, to integrate even more into that part of the factory. And also we've created a visitor experience from the ground up, really thinking from the first day of planning, how can we make this an experience? And to connect the engineering with both the story and that experience element, I think this is, in our world of emotional products, really the way how we package both those together into one compelling offering.
Okay. Do you think about probably one day launching a new iconic line, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because you know,
IWC is we know the iconic lines.
Yeah.
It's mostly the three Ps, the pilot, the Portuguese, and the Portofino. Then, of course, we have the Ingenieur, we have the Aqua Timer. But is there anything in your mind you could imagine to add to these lines?
Absolutely.
Tell us.
We're curious. In a brand like ours, you have to balance the continuity of your legacy with the innovation around it. Yeah. Now, iconic design, me being creative, I know how that works, you know how that works, is not you get up every Monday morning and design something iconic.
No.
But we have to continue developing new products, new lines, and we're actively working on that. And you continue to innovate, and then there will be that moment where you have something where you say, this is the new addition, this is the fourth pillar. But it's a process, like anything in life.
But it's already a working process. It's not yet in the pipeline, but
No, but it's work in progress.
That's good. Sounds good. I'm very curious to see what would be this new discovery then. Let me ask you something about things that you have started very early at IWC. You have been I would say, leaders in modern marketing, in modern communications, in using social medias. You have been the leaders in using, also in implementing e-commerce. You were the first to go to Pret-à-Porter, to Mr. Porter, to sell your watches. So much forward thinking. Are you happy with the situation of this industry, or would you consider them being a little bit old-fashioned?
No, I think
it's your advantage, but
yes, it's an advantage. But I think we have to balance what we do in terms of innovation and continuity, because we're not in fashion products. We make timeless products for eternity. So it is always a balancing act. I think we try, as in a sports car, the design changes are incremental over time. I think this is the same for watches, for our key iconic pillars. It's also reassurance to our clients that they're buying a product with longevity, with great longevity. However, in the way we communicate, we tell our stories, we distribute our watches, and we interact with the client, we have to innovate, and we have to innovate at the right pace to make sure that we're staying relevant to every generation of consumer. And we feel personally that it's not the fascination of mechanics that is somehow subsiding in any way, but it is a different way of reaching our consumers, a different way of engagement.
There's another consumer out there. There's a younger consumer coming and having his own ideas how to buy and how to discover the world of something he would like to buy. Either watch.
For the first time at SIHH this year on Tuesday, we had a few guests. We had 8-year-olds and 11-year-olds boys who really enjoyed the watchmaking experience here, and it just goes to reinforce that we really have to be active in reaching people from a very early stage and explain what it's all about, but communicate in a way they understand and they find engaging.
Since you were always a little bit the leaders in these developments, could you imagine that virtual reality experience could be something that could help the industry to discover a watch if there's not the possibility to get one on your wrist or to get a touch and feel?
Yeah, there's many ways to generate interest and generate an experience. I think in our industry there is something very essential to feeling the product on your wrist and having the product in your hand. I think even more than jewelry, watch on your wrist is an essential part of choosing a watch. And I believe nowadays, when I look at our online sales, that most of these sales had a physical interaction with the product at one point. I think there's a very small amount of sales that are purely online in that sense, that somebody's clicked on IWC.com, discovered the brand, chose a watch and bought that. So yes, I think virtual reality and all our 360 technology that we're implementing is a great way to create an experience around the product, but I don't think it is yet at a point where it would substitute the physical experience of the product at some point.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your collection.
Yes.
The Paul Weber watch came back, a watch when it was created, it was done by an Austrian.
Yeah, a very good Austrian.
Yeah,
Josef.
For Josef.
Yeah.
The watch is simply stunning because when it was done, you have even a pocket watch.
Yes, we have
show it in the
watch.
camera.
So
you have the original.
This is one from 1885, so we can imagine in 1885 jumping hours and minutes, digital display on a mechanical pocket watch, revolutionary way of showing the time. These were on sale in production for about 25 years at IWC, and we've now taken that movement and translated it into a wristwatch movement for the very first time, nearly 5 years in the making, a 94 caliber. And now
it's good to see that there's almost no difference in between the one you did for the wrist and the one you have in your pocket.
Yes, and it's also very interesting to see that this dial layout works so well on a wristwatch. You know, it's almost a one-to-one translation.
Yeah. It's good. The readability is excellent.
Absolutely, and you have this in stainless steel in blue. We have the red gold with the white dial and a platinum version, and also the pocket watch in a limitation of 50 in red gold.
They're shouting.
They're cheering already.
Cheering.
They're happy about the pocket watch, finally.
Tell me, why did the brand wait so long to bring this iconic watch as a wristwatch? I was moderating the IWC forum at the time, and I had so many requests. Paul Weber. Yeah. Why did it take you so long in the end of the day to bring this watch to reality?
As you say correctly, we've been thinking about this for a long time. We were waiting for the right moment to launch this, where it made sense in the collection, and I think the anniversary as an anchor piece, it's perfect because it's above the product lines and it consolidates the look of the collection. And the other thing, it's a long development period on that movement, because here with the precision
you had to change a few things.
We had to change a few things. Yeah, it's got
the one you're wearing. You told me before we started the interview. It's running very fast. So all these guys.
Historic one.
Yeah, the historic one. Yeah, not the new one. No, of course.
it.
Jesus Christ. No, the old one is running too fast. So all these guys at the time being were always ahead of time.
They were totally ahead of the time. Today we like to be ahead of the time in many things, but not in timekeeping. So
not if you are a precision watchmaker.
To manage this from an engineering perspective, this needs 2 barrels and mainsprings, one to drive just the movement, one to drive the jumping hours and minutes, which switch in a tenth of a second. And there's very, very limited tolerances in the disc action for that movement.
You needed to eliminate the energy that is needed to move those discs.
Exactly. So that's why that movement took quite some time to develop, but we got it here in time for 150 years anniversary, and I think it's the perfect moment.
If I may ask you, which of the watches you have been putting in your Jubilee collection is your favorite?
At the moment, I find myself picking up the Paul Weber in red gold time and again. And I'm always a little bit like a kid in a candy store when the product team phone and tell me they have this watch in the case for the very first time, and I drop everything and run up there.
The reason is why, what reason is it because why the fact that it is so different to a normal watch? It has no hands beside the little second. The small second, and you just read digitals, and you have a digital indication. What's the reason for this enthusiasm?
I love the understatement of the dial. It's very IWC because of its purity, and it's got this typical vertical alignment that you find through all of our watches. Even the Portuguese chronograph has this 12 to 6 o'clock alignment, and it's got huge complexity behind, similar to a minute repeater, complex movement, very, very simple and pure dial and exterior, simple case, classic, elegant. I love this combination.
It's now the architect speaking to us.
Very much so. Yeah. Yes,
we have to know you were trained as an architect.
Interior designer, yes.
Interior designer, so pure designs.
Yes. Yeah. But I think the challenge, and I spoke to one of my architect colleagues yesterday, and I think the challenges that architects face, watchmakers face, are very, very similar. Because you're creating a complex system of components that has to work perfectly together, but also in the end be aesthetically stunning. Yeah. So although it takes 1,000 parts, in the end you have to look at it and it has to become one, and you think, wow, this is it.
I once learned that it's about 7 seconds. Your decision in your head is made in about 7 seconds. You look at the dial. 7 seconds, it's done.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Maybe it's 8 seconds.
Without that aesthetic appeal, all of the technology, all of the beautiful craftsmanship is not coming together if I don't have an immediate wow factor. But in architecture and design, this is very much a similar challenge. Because the complexity, in the end, you don't want to know city. You just want to walk in there and go, wow, this is beautiful.
Then, Christian, use the spirit of Schaffhausen, the spirit of engineering. Use your creativity, the creativity of your team to continue to push IWC forward.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday to the brand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you
for your
being
look,
with us.
your vision, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander.
What shall I say? Guys, stay on our channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel we created, and there's more stuff to come during the day.
Thank you.